Welcome to the first part on building a scalable serverless microservice data API, a course by Pact Publishing. In this video, I'm going to provide an overview, but before that, I will introduce myself. So my name is Richard Freeman. I have an MEng in Computer System Engineering and a PhD in Machine Learning and Natural Language Processing from the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom. My current role is a lead data engineer and architect, but I'm also a data scientist and solutions architect. I currently work for JustGiving, a tech for good platform that raised over 4.5 billion for good causes from 22 million registered users. I'm also a freelance cloud architect and machine learning consultant. And previously I worked for Capgemini, where I started off as a developer and quickly got promoted to be a solutions architect, working for global Fortune 500 clients. I've delivered cloud-based big data, machine learning, data pipelines, serverless and scalable solutions for over 14 years and presented this at numerous leading academic and industry conferences, events and summits. In addition, I've published various articles in numerous journals and also I'm an active blogger. So in terms of my serverless experience, I've been an early adopter in serverless computing, advocating it within the company JustGiving, but also externally, events such as the AWS reInvent and also AWS Summit. So that's me talking at the reInvent on the right. I've written various technical blog posts, which you can find on my website, rfreeman.net, and I have over 3 years experience in serverless production experience for large-scale consumer-facing websites and products. Finally, I'm also an advocate for promoting tech for good, where I think everyone in technology can make a difference in the world using their tech skills for good. In the past, when I encouraged my audience to get involved in tech for good, one of them later got back to me asking me for more details. So I wrote a blog post on Medium. So if you search for @rfreeman on Medium, you'll find the blog post, which I've got a picture on the right. And also feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's linkedin.com/in/drfreeman. On the bottom left, you can see that I love using my scooter at home, but also when I travel. I find it's even greener than using public transport, and it gives you a workout at the same time. So on the bottom left, you can see I'm scooting along on the Las Vegas Strip in Nevada, USA. And the bottom right, you can see I'm on the Shibuya crossing in Tokyo, Japan, which is rumored to be the busiest intersection in the world. In this course, I am not only going to share the hows and the to-dos, but also my personal experience of running serverless stacks in production at scale for the past 3 years. I've presented some of this, as I said earlier, in the reInvent, and have also written several serverless blog posts, including on the AWS blogs such as the big data and the computing. This course provides an architectural overview, but is primarily a practical course, and by the end you will have full functional serverless microservice data API working, returning data at very low latency in a scalable way and very cost effective. The approach is to build up the API step by step so I can share my experience as we go along, and more importantly, how you can fully understand it in terms of how it functions and works. And then you can adapt it very easily for your own needs as you understand the foundations, essentially. So in section 1 of the course, which is titled Overview of the Monolithic and Microservices Architecture, so rather than having you read numerous architecture books and blog posts, I've summarized the important principles and types of architectures that are typically considered and in use at the moment. So we're going to talk about the monolithic multi-tier and service-oriented architectures, and then we'll talk about the microservices architectures. And finally, I will compare and contrast, providing the benefits and drawbacks of each type. In section 2, which deals with the AWS building blocks for creating serverless microservices, I will introduce you to different infrastructures for running microservices, so you can quickly get started. There will be a specific focus on serverless computing. However, I will also discuss virtual machines and containers, which are approaches that organizations use. In addition, we will talk about serverless computing in AWS and the Lambda functions especially will be one of the primary examples of that, but we will also talk about managed services. The last part of section 2 will talk about setting up your serverless environment in AWS. In section 3, which is about securing your microservice, I will share my practical experience, content from white papers and blog posts to save you time on making sure that your serverless microservices are secure. It will provide an overview of security, why it's important, and what you can do in AWS to ensure that anything you deploy is secure. We will also provide an overview of the AWS Identity and Access Management roles and policies. And finally, we'll talk about the security within the serverless microservice itself. In section 4, we will talk about creating your first serverless microservice. So now that we understand the architecture, we understand the building blocks and security models, we are creating the first microservice. And I will share my experience on running various types of tests that are required in production. I will also provide you with all the configuration and source code that you need to create your fully functional and scalable microservice data API. We'll start with building the actual serverless microservice data API and then building up the API gateway, the Lambda function and DynamoDB, connecting them all together. And then we will actually show you how you can load lots of data into DynamoDB and how it can be queried efficiently using a Lambda function. So now that we have the API deployed, in section 5 we will look at testing your serverless microservice. In this section I share my experience on running various types of tests that are required for a production serverless stack deployment. I will talk about unit testing your Python Lambda code, running and debugging the AWS Lambda code locally, integration testing using real test data, and then we'll run some performance testing and end-to-end testing at scale. I will be introducing, for example, a load testing tool so you can really check that your API can scale. In section 6, we will discuss the building and deploying of your serverless stack. In this section, I'll share my experience on building and deploying your serverless stack in a repeatable and predictable way. Especially, we will be discussing the different build options, as well as the ways you can actually deploy the serverless stack. In section 7, which is the last section, we will give you a quick summary of the whole course and have a peek preview into the next course. So some of the assumptions that I'm taking is that you have a system that runs Windows, Linux or Mac, and that you have some basic Python development experience. If you don't, Python is very easy to pick up. It's actually taught to kids nowadays, in school even. So I'm not sure you'll be able to run the environments and step through without any problems if you have any other type of development experience. So some of the prerequisites. So you obviously need to have an interest in serverless computing and microservices. And this can be part of your role. Either you can be an architect, a developer, someone in ops or DevOps, someone in analytics or business intelligence, or even data science teams, and have a basic understanding of the programming language. By the end of the course, you will have a very good understanding of microservices and serverless computing, their benefits and drawbacks compared to existing architectures such as SOA and microservices in containers. You will gain an appreciation for the power of deploying a full serverless stack, where you save money in terms of costs to run, but also in terms of support, maintenance and upgrading. And this effectively allows your company to go to market a lot quicker with any new products, beating your competitors to it. You will also be able to create, test and deploy a scalable serverless microservice where the costs are paid per usage and not uptime. In addition, this will allow you to auto-scale based on the number of requests, and the security is natively built in and supported by AWS.